to heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We'll look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in Kate. Kate, good to see you this evening.
Oh, so good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Enjoying my summer. How's married life treating you?
It's great. It's
good.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah. Next, we have a Dr. Jones wannabe with Pete. Pete, you really got to wash that cup.
Oh, yeah. Does this look like a cup of a carpenter? I don't know.
No, it looks like a cup of a theme park.
Hey, how do you know this isn't an original?
I will pay you $10,000 if that is the original.
No, it's not. No. Okay.
No, it's not.
And in the home stretch is Steve. Steve, you got 2 days, right?
2 days, a day and a half if you really want to get down to hours.
At this point, every little bit helps. So, yes. Guys, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, share. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere at Plus Platoon. This week, we have watched Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, we intentionally did not choose Raiders of the Lost Ark because, and I think we mentioned this last week, everyone already has so many opinions about Raiders of the Lost Ark that we didn't really think there was anything new that we could cover on it. This movie, however, is one that a lot of people go, oh, yeah, I forgot Sean Connery was in Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of we brought this up. We've obviously got Dial of Destiny coming out. I think it's end of this week, isn't it? Or next week?
Next week, I think. Yeah.
Next week. Yeah. Anyway, who cares? But so, because you are the keeper of the faith of this series, Pete, I'm going to start with you. What made this movie a priceless artifact?
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously see I'm a pretty big fan. The fact that I have, I have several Indiana Jones artifacts. That just happens to be one of them, the one that applies to this movie. But I have to say, and I guess I got to kind of go back in time a little bit. These movies were very influential to my childhood, teenage years. I was 19 when this movie came out. I loved this movie. And so separating that from being a person watching it today and reviewing it was a bit difficult. But what I'll say did work about this movie is it did feel like, for the most part, an exciting Indiana Jones adventure that was more in line with the first movie than Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom was a very dark movie. I still like it a lot, but the tone of it was much darker. This was more in line with the first movie, which was fairly lighthearted. I mean, there's some dark moments and everything, but I did like the adventure that went on. I also liked that they tried to develop Indiana Jones by bringing his father in and to try to give him some history of why he's the person he is and everything like that. I did at the time really enjoy that dynamic between the two characters. And I don't know, Sean Connery is great. He's kind of no matter how bad the movie is he's fun. So those are going to be that's my two comments, and I'm going to let Steve and the rest of you guys go next.
I agree with you, Pete. I think the dynamic between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery was one of the best parts of the movie. I guess that dynamic playing back and forth. I think that would be the perfect. Who's going to be the father of Indiana Jones? They cast it perfectly. I also loved the action sequences, like the boat chase, the fight on the boat, the thing with the tank. All the big action things were, like you said, just sort of back from that original Indiana Jones. Just great cinema. Like Pete, I saw this movie originally in the theater, and I haven't actually seen it until I guess watched it this past weekend. It was the action sequences, and I felt like it really captured that first moment of the movie. The second movie is different. I have thoughts on that, but I'd say action sequences and the dynamic between them. Derek, what would you say?
First, I think the casting of Sean Connery is brilliant, although it takes a little bit for you to think why they cast James Bond as his father. And why he has the Scottish accent when there's no trace of it with Indy, because even if it's with his father, there would have been probably at least a little bit of a trace of it.
My father is from Austria and has an Austrian accent, and I have no Austrian accent. So
I mean that's fair. So it's just,
I don't think that's unbelievable.
Yeah. I think it used the origin story effectively. That first, 15 minutes or so of, and uses the Cross of Cortez to kind of understand where Indy got the passion for antiquities and making sure they found museums and such.
Mm-hmm.
It worked well as a sequel. You had to have seen Raiders for some of it to make sense, I would argue. I don't think you really needed to see Temple of Doom for it to make sense.
No,
but you needed to see some of Raiders for it to make sense. Like, know who Marcus is. No, is that the throwaway line of, is that the Ark of the Covenant? Are you sure? Pretty darn.
Yeah.
With the picture in the catacombs. But I mean, it's got funny moments, it has heartrending moments. Is it perfect? No, but it has, like, one of the best lines, and I would say this is probably top 10 lines of all cinemas. He chose poorly. So, hey, what worked for you?
Yeah, I liked it. I couldn't remember if I had seen this one. I know I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark before. I do think I had already seen bits and pieces of this particular movie. I liked it. I don't usually like Nazi movies. I don't usually like to spend my time watching movies with Nazis in them. But I really enjoyed it. And I remember thinking while watching it, excuse me, I remember thinking, ooh, I bet all of the guys on the Plus Platoon loved this movie growing up. Like, I bet this.
No.
Oh wow. I remember thinking I can see coming out in 89, I can see why this franchise was a huge hit at that time. It had a great storyline, wonderful actors. I recognized the guy who played Brody from the movie Trading Spaces, which is just, I kept looking at him and I was like, I know him from somewhere. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, he's the guy from Trading Spaces. So, and Sean Connery, just the casting was brilliant. Harrison Ford was a hottie. River Phoenix, hottie. Like, I get it. I understand why men and women all liked this movie. It had adventure. It had puzzles. It was just, I liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and you got to remember, throughout the 80s, there were a lot of really, really bad Indiana Jones type movies, all in that time. And like the only one that seemed like it could do it right was Indiana Jones. So
yeah,
if you were, a lot of those movies are sort of lost to the mist of time, rightly so. Yeah, but there's only been a few of those kind of that feel of movies that have been successful and actually entertaining. Like I would say, like The Mummy is very much like an Indiana Jones movie. The first Mummy.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So good. I love the
yeah.
Mummy.
Yeah.
I would add to this the foreshadowing, like watching this movie through the second time and
Mhm.
knowing what's coming, all those little hints of foreshadowing that they threw into the movie, like, oh, because I haven't seen in a while, and knowing what was coming, like, that's very clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pete, I have a question for you because I was reading in this. Have you heard the theory about characters that wear red flowers, basically turning evil?
Oh no.
So there's this theory: characters who wear red flowers are not trustworthy.
In the Indiana Jones movies?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
So I have to read more up on that, but they're talking about just like in this movie, if anyone who wears a red flower cannot be trusted from what they're saying the first part. So I have to
See,
read more
I
up on
love
it.
stuff like that.
Right? It's
love
that to me was like, oh, like on that second watch, like, oh, I know what's coming. And so
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for a little tidbit. Now, Kate and Kate, now when I said I didn't like this, mainly because I didn't see it when I was growing up. I didn't see this until like college. Because I would have been 9 when this came out, and I would not have liked this when I was 9.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
now, what about this movie did Spielberg and George Lucas choose poorly? What didn't work for the movie?
So I actually don't have a lot for this. I don't like movies about Nazis. So, but I did notice there was one theme. It wasn't the Indiana Jones theme, but there was one, and I'm not gonna be able to think of what it was now, but it was very similar in the same key and very similar to a theme from Star Wars.
Also, it sounded like a John Williams movie. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I remembered because like it caught me about 3 different times when they'd start doing the theme and I would start singing the Star Wars song. And so but then I was like, "Oh, it's John Williams." Like, duh, it's gonna sound. It's like how Sondheim, all of Sondheim sounds the same. But so that kind of caught me off guard. I don't have a lot negative to say about it. It was a catchy 80s movie. It's a cult classic. That's kind of how I was it cheesy in points? Yeah, absolutely. Was it predictable in points? Yup, 100%, but it was also a sci-fi-ish action movie from the 80s. So I kind of took it with a grain of salt. And I know there's going to be things. Oh, I can say, Derek, I feel you on. I would not have liked this movie as a child when the guy drinks out of the wrong chalice and he turns into the Tales from the Crypt man. That would have scared the poop out of me as a child. That would have scared me so bad. So,
After surviving them ripping a heart out of a guy at 14, I was fine with the old guy turning old at 19.
That's fair. But yeah, it didn't have anything, in my opinion, that was like, oh, this is like it didn't, in my opinion, didn't have anything blatantly racist or like really like did not hold up over time. It was a kitschy 80s movie and it worked and it held up. So I feel like you all said The Mummy, which I hadn't thought of The Mummy. I kept thinking National Treasure. It
Yeah,
was like a modern 80s National Treasure.
Yeah, those are definitely similar movies for sure.
So that's me. What about you, Pete?
So again, taking off I love this as a youth goggles. Even though this was the part where they had the interaction between Indy and his dad, that whole middle section from when they left the castle to when they got to the desert is not very
Good.
It's not very good. Yeah, there's action sequences, but none of them are very compelling, and it's all about kind of the getting the time for Indiana Jones and his dad to be snippy towards each other. And while that worked for me really well when I was 19, now watching it, I was kind of like, this is a little long, this middle part. I really enjoyed the first part, and I really enjoyed from when they got to the desert. And I know you said you're the chosen poorly line, but one of my favorite lines in this movie is when he says to Sala, he's like, "Those are 6 camels." I said, "No camels. Can you count?"
That was good. That made me laugh.
But anyways, I think I think that middle part doesn't work very well. The other thing I would say, it always annoys me when movies do this, and this movie was one of the first to do it, is in that first, I love that first 15-minute segment, except that every single quirk of Indiana Jones is created in this one action sequence. Like everything about him, his whip and his scar and his fear of snakes and his hat and his and his everything happened because of that 120-minute sequence. I give that a little bit of a pass, only because that opening sequence eventually led to the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which is a TV series that's also available on Disney Plus.
That's also not very good.
What?
That's also not very good.
It's very up and down. Some of it is very slow, but it's actually I don't think it works particularly well as like an action show, but I think as like a history show, there's actually some pretty good episodes of that. So I kind of forgive that first part, but yeah, the middle doesn't completely work for me. So Steve,
question for you, Pete. I'm trying to remember the end of Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. At the very end, do we have the character who sort of melts? Is that right?
Yes.
My one critique would be we had a very similar thing happen at the end of this movie. Instead of he quickly aged quickly and turned into the Crypt Keeper. Sort of this similar ending. Overall, I liked the movie. Like I said, Pete, it was something I grew up watching. It was a huge hit. That's really everything else I enjoyed. I'd agree with you, Pete. There was that slow part in the middle, but I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I've actually enjoyed all the movies. Well, not maybe the last one, the Crystal Skull, not so much, but I would say the endings were somewhat similar.
Okay. For me, definitely agree the middle was slow. And I'm sorry, but did he really have to run into Hitler at the rally?
Yeah, that whole
shark issue.
That whole scene could have gone, right? That was almost, I mean, they could have done something else for them to get the diary back, or if they had to get the diary back.
They had to get the diary back, or they just picked the diary back up in they picked the diary back up in the desert.
Right.
So yeah, and I don't know, it's hard because it's one of those movies that's on all the time. It's always on, like, especially lately, like Paramount Network has had it on just about every weekend.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's hard when you've watched parts of a movie a lot and other parts not. Is that why you like or don't like those certain parts? To me, this is almost bordering on that, because I don't remember the last time I actually sat and watched this thing the whole way through it. You usually either catch the very beginning, or more likely you catch it from where he gets shot to the end. That's the portion that I have watched countless times. But I don't know, the playing up of the relation, as good as I said this relationship between Indy and his dad was, all of a sudden the resolving of Indiana, let it go, was just one of those. I understand why he said it, because, he just come back in the Illumination and it's changed him. But that was so out of character with how every other way his father had been portrayed. So, I mean, that's just one little thing that kind of bugged me a little bit.
Did it bug anybody else that he had just dropped Elsa and then his dad said, "Let it go"?
Ah,
Okay, Pete, you're cut off. Oh. Speaking of letting things go, sorry, Pete. I'm having trouble picking you up. No, I will say, for me personally, the rat scene has always kind of creeped me out. Especially the rats coming in through the top of the sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do understand it's supposed to.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. So Kate, you had something to add.
was this the movie where he said, why is it gotta be snakes or something?
No, that's Raiders.
Oh, it is Raider. I couldn't remember.
He looks down and sees they drop the flames in. It's snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Snakes? Yeah. The rats did, and I am not afraid of rats. I don't mind rats, but that grossed me out. That part grossed me out.
Okay. Now, is this the best Indiana Jones movie? I think we're going to go a blanket statement. Crystal Skull is not the best Indiana Jones movie. And until we see Dial of Destiny, probably the worst Indiana Jones movie. But
it's hard. It's hard to. I can't imagine anyone thinking Crystal Skull is a good movie.
Apparently, Steven Spielberg did.
Well,
that or he liked the paycheck. So, and guys, I know I'm freezing a lot. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. Okay.
No, yes. I'm hearing you fine.
Not sure what's going on with the video, guys. Sorry. Steve, is this the best Indiana Jones movie?
Well, Temple of Doom is number 3 for me. I enjoyed it as a teenager. I love that movie. Totally geared towards teenage boys. I'm gonna say, actually, I enjoy this movie slightly more than Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's parts I like, but overall, I liked this movie slightly more. And I don't know why. I think maybe it's just where I was, but I'd say I like this one slightly more. Are we going to Derek next?
Yeah, we are going to Derek next.
Yeah.
So what is the best indie? So best indie movie is this one over Raiders?
Yes, by like a hair margin for me.
Okay. For me, it's Raiders over this. Because it was hard for me to sit and watch this all the way through, and I can sit and watch Raiders all the way through. Or it wasn't hard for me to watch this all the way through. It was hard to not be tempted to pull out my phone on this all the way through. And it was not tempted for me to be looking elsewhere all the way through. Raiders, and part of it is I've seen Raiders so many more times. But to me, Raiders just has, and you know me, I like the original movie more than sequels typically. So to me, it's Raiders, this, Temple, Crystal. Kate?
So I think I've only seen Raiders and this one. I think those are the only two that I've seen. So and they both kind of equally held my attention the same. So I would say it's a tie between Raiders and this one. Maybe Raiders a little bit more, because that's the one that I inadvertently quoted the most. So probably Raiders, and then this pulls a close second. But again, those are the only two I've seen. So go ahead, Pete.
For me, it's Raiders. It's my top 5 movies of all time. This is not, as I said, if you'd asked me in 1989, I would have put all 3 very close together. Because I love them all. But I would say watching it now, I definitely like Raiders more. I actually like Temple of Doom more than this one. I know Temple of Doom has some flaws too, but I think once they get to the action, the big problem with Temple of Doom is, again, the middle section of it. I love the opening section of it, and then I love from when they get in the Temple of Doom through the rest of it. I think it's awesome. But I think I would put this one third, just a little behind Temple of Doom, and Raiders is five stars all the way for me, which this is not.
Okay, that's fair. And part of the reason I brought this up is typically people say like the third in a trilogy, because we got to count this as originally a trilogy.
Right. Yeah.
Typically people have liked the third movie in a trilogy the best.
Yeah, often more than the second one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny how that works, that the second one is often not good.
Yeah. A lot of times.
But I'm thinking Back to the Future. Back to the Future 2 is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So now, speaking of Back to the Future, this obviously has had a sequel. Is Crystal Skull 5 years old-ish?
No, it's actually like 12 years old or something.
Wow.
It was like 2010, 2009, 2010. It was very similar to Avatar, actually, around the same time.
And then it has a sequel obviously coming out next week.
Right.
I'm going to start with you, Kate, on this one. Are there any other movie franchises that should be unearthed to create a new chapter of?
Yeah. So knee-jerk reaction was Back to the Future. But I want to change my answer because, and here's what's hard, is some of these, the main characters have since passed away. The actors have passed away, so you couldn't do it. Mrs. Doubtfire is one that I would love to have seen a remake or a redo with Robin Williams of Mrs. Doubtfire. Blazing Saddles is another one.
And Kate, I would argue Blazing Saddles could not be made today. There's no way that he could gotten away with making Blazing Saddles today.
I would agree.
Never,
I would agree.
Never.
And I mean, another one on that path is Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, they did make remake.
They did make one. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh God,
And
it's
see,
so funny.
I would take the Coming to America and go, you couldn't redo Trading Places though.
Agreed.
Today,
Another one you could throw in there is Airplane. Oh my God, or Clue. Oh my God.
Airplane has sequels.
Clue. Oh, Clue is a great idea. Yeah. Make another Clue movie.
Yes.
But would it be, well, yeah, it probably would, but if you don't have Tim Curry and you don't have some of those actors that were so funny, but Clue would be another one. And I wish that they would do it where every movie theater, it was like round robin on what ending you got of the movie,
because that's how they did it originally.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
So those are I know I just gave you like 5. And notice, Derek, I didn't say the 1994 cinema classic, Sleepless in Seattle. You're welcome.
No one needs to see. Okay, Sleepless in Seattle. The only thing that could happen next is they actually got divorced.
Yeah, what would be the next?
Yeah. Sleepless in Seattle.
One of them gets amnesia and they have to meet again.
When they're in their 70s and, they go to bed at 6 because they ate supper at 4 and they're up at 3 in the morning. So
good.
Pete,
go ahead,
how about
Pete.
you? What's your idea?
So yeah, Sleepless in Seattle because they have to go to the bathroom every 2 hours.
Yeah.
So mine actually, I haven't seen it, but they did one last year, but it didn't really get a lot of press. But I was thinking, if we're going back to the 80s, there were 2 of these movies made, and I really liked them at the time. And I love the books they're based on, but the Fletch movies, they actually made a new Fletch movie last year with John Hamm, I believe, and I did not see it. So, but I'm not a huge Chevy Chase fan, but the original Fletch movie was really, really good. The second one, but so that would be one idea that I would think of. I honestly, I really wish we would stop rehashing these old movies. And when it comes to Indiana Jones, I would actually rather them try to do a movie with a new actor than do what they're.
They had a setup. Shia LaBeouf was set up to be.
He was right.
Over.
Yeah, he was.
Apparently he dies. He's dead in this next one.
I don't think so. That's not what I heard. I thought you
meant Shia LaBeouf died, and I was
no.
like, when did that happen?
No. Mutt died.
Mutt. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want another Indiana Jones movie, but if I was going to have one, I would prefer to not try to drag Harrison Ford back again. In the end, I'm going to go pay and see this movie. I know I am, but my expectations are super duper low.
And it might not meet them.
Yeah. So, I guess my expectations are better than Crystal Skull.
Ooh, then you maybe set yourself up for disappointment.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve, what about you? You got some movies you wanted to see dug up?
I'm gonna go more recent because I actually really enjoyed the movie, but another solo movie, Han Solo movie, because I liked the solo movie. I really enjoyed it. No, that's never going to happen, but that one there. I also love Kate's idea of another Clue movie. I mean, if that's on, I'll watch that. It's hilarious.
Every time. I'll watch it every time.
I don't know if they could pull that off, but I would say more recently that comes to mind is the solo movie because I really enjoyed it. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Derek.
For me, I'm going to give you an example of a series that both did very well and was horrible at the same time when it had been unearthed. And I'm going to go with Ghostbusters because Ghostbusters 2 was not very good. It was okay, but it wasn't very good.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah. The all-female Ghostbusters was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care that they were female. It was written by a bunch of Saturday Night Live direct writers, is how it felt. They were always going for the cheap joke. Okay?
It just wasn't a good movie.
It wasn't 100%. A good movie. Now, Afterlife was wonderful. Ghostbusters Afterlife worked because it tied into the original without having to have all of the original characters. Yes, they show up at the end. Yes, they show up here and there in little cameo type appearances. But that's not what the story's about. The story is about developing a new round, like Indiana Jones should have done. Like all these movies that are trying to bring it back. Great. Now develop the new cast that can go forward. Tie it to the original, but develop it to the new cast that can go forward. I don't know. Other than that, I struggle to think of movies that are decent at all that they haven't already tried to make a sequel for. I know they're going to make another Top Gun movie. I don't need to see another Top Gun movie.
We don't need any more Top Gun movies. We don't need any more Mission Impossible movies. And for the love of God, we don't need any more Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, I like the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh.
I'm okay with those.
I haven't seen them, so I actually probably shouldn't judge.
I've seen the first one in like 20 minutes of like 2, 3, and 4, or 17, 36, and 29, or whatever they're on. So
how can you say you don't like them if you don't see them?
I was more thinking like Tom. I'm just kind of sick of Tom Cruise.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
That's more what I meant. But like, I would do another Matrix movie.
Ooh, no.
I liked the Matrix.
No.
Did you see the sequel?
Nope.
Yeah.
Did you see either of the sequels?
Nope.
No. I'm talking about the more recent one.
Number 4, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I've only seen the original.
Oh, well, stick with that.
They've made more, and they're not good. So, but I think one thing we can all agree on is we are sick of remakes and sequels.
Yeah. Well, no, definitely not remakes, because it's like don't give me the same movie again without like
significant plot changes.
Without some kind of change to it that really makes it feel like a different story. Like I think we keep going back to Cruella, which was not a perfect movie, but at least it was not 101 Dalmatians.
At least it came up with a different movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And for the love of God, stop making the 90s, remaking the 90s animated movies into into CGI action.
Say it louder for the people in the back, because let's
they're
be done with that.
they're running out of movies, but
Ugh.
I know there's Lilo and Stitch coming out.
Yep.
I'm just waiting for them to remake the Black Cauldron.
Oh,
Because then you
God.
know they've really
I
hit
don't actually think
bottom of the
they'll
barrel.
do that one.
Right.
I think that might be the only one they skip.
How about is it Basil Baker Street?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
That's
not
the
going to
one
be
Great Mouse
Or-
Detective. Great Mouse
The Great-
Detective.
Great
Mouse
Mouse Detective. But what
Yeah.
about Sword in the Stone?
You'll
Sword
get
and
to that.
we're getting to that, and that is not a new story at all. That story has been told literally hundreds of times.
Yeah,
It's the
for sure.
Arthurian legend, including in this movie.
Well,
But the Knights and the Crusades and all that in this movie.
yeah, but it was not.
So, that was not the Arthurian Knights, obviously.
Yeah.
But okay, as we always do, we have to give this movie a rating on Cups of Pixie Dust out of 5. Kate, what are we giving it?
I mean, I'll give it a solid 3. I could be swayed to give it a 3.5, but I'm going to start with a 3.
Do it.
Honestly.
Give it a 3.5.
So like, you like Peter Pan and Wendy better than this?
Oh, no. Did
And
I
you
give
gave it-
Peter Pan and Wendy a 3?
And a half.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a dream the other night that I got cast as Wendy in a movie. It was weird. Anyway, all right, I'll
work.
give it a 3.5.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 3.5. As I said, when I was 19 and I saw this probably 3 or 4 times in the theater, I would have told you all Indiana Jones movies are a 5. But I enjoyed this. It's not one I would revisit a lot, though, and but I would revisit it. So 3.5.
And we'll make it a turkey. I also give it a 3.5.
Go ahead, Derek.
It's straight 3.5s. It's
Wow.
straight 3.5.
Wow.
That's pretty high for Derek.
Because this is
That
a
is
movie.
high
If
for
I'm
Derek.
flipping past it and I see it on, I will at least say, if nothing else is on, I'm definitely going to go back and watch that. So it's a movie that I will stop and watch.
Okay, so let's ask that question. Name 2 movies that if you are flipping through the channels that you will stop and what you're doing and watch until the end.
Okay.
Uh,
Back to the Future Part 1.
Okay.
That's tough because there's not many movies I'll do that for. I would say I have a hard time turning off Jaws. That's one of my all-time favorites.
For me, it's Apollo 13.
That's a good one.
That's a
I
good
have
one.
to make sure that they make it home.
For me, and again, to me, that's one part of the movie where it depends on where they are in the movie.
Mm.
If they're already around the moon, probably. If they're not all the way around the moon, I'm probably skipping it and maybe coming back. For me, it's original Ghostbusters and Blazing Saddles. Those are the 2 movies that if that's coming on and I flip past it, I set down the remote and watch it until the end.
Yeah.
So,
I will say Blazing Saddles is up there as well. The Jerk is also up there.
Oh, what a good movie.
It's a great movie.
He hates these cans.
The beans! It's the cans! Oh god, that movie's great. And Clue. I would sit and watch Clue.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you said 2. So
Yeah, I know.
Pete, you have a couple? Oh, you already did. You said
Well,
Jaws.
I said one, but I can't. The problem is like the movies that I love the most, I've seen so many times. Most of them I probably am not like. Actually, Back to the Future is a good example. I love that movie. It was on TV the other day, and I clicked by it, and I was like, "Oh, Back to the Future, I love this," but I kept going.
I do have another one.
No, I was gonna say I will stop probably on 3, but not on 1. Back to the Future. I will stop on 3. I'll probably stop on 3 especially if they're into the last day,
Yeah.
at that point, that to the end, I will definitely watch.
3 is actually really good.
Yes. So, Steve, what's your other one?
A Christmas Story.
Oh,
Because every Christmas, I can watch.
Absolutely.
I could watch it multiple times.
White Christmas also does it for me.
White Christmas, yes. White Christmas, absolutely. That is what we turn on like as we're decorating the tree. I know. After we've decorated the tree in the afternoon, we sit. We always have snacks and watch White Christmas.
I want to be invited to that party.
Sure, come on out. Usually Black Friday or that Saturday.
Am I allowed to use a concert film?
Sure.
Fantasia?
No. Stop Making Sense. Talking Heads is a concert film from 1983 or something, 84.
Nice.
If I do happen to click on that coming around the TV, I will watch it to the end.
I will also say usually original Blues Brothers.
My dad gave
that
me
one also depends where it is in the movie.
My dad gave me that VHS when I was 7, and he gave it to me as a present, and my mother was like, absolutely not.
It's rated R.
I know, but my dad didn't.
No, it's language. It's just for
He
language.
just loved the movie, so he gave it to me, and my mom was like, no, absolutely not.
And that one, there are sections I will watch. I will watch basically in the early section. It's anytime like when they're dealing with Ray, when they're dealing with Aretha Franklin in the thing. The musical numbers I'll watch. Bob's Country Bunker is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the concert to the end.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. If they're to the concert or close to the concert, then I would just keep watching it.
Yeah. So
am I allowed to share a story about the Blues Brothers?
Absolutely. We've gone off the rails so far here, so why not?
So I was, I think, like 9 years old, and we went to see the movie Herbie Goes Bananas. I still remember this. Okay. I went to see the movie Herbie Goes Bananas. And at one point, and this will never happen to any child ever again going forward, because it can't, somehow they switched the reels. And in the middle of Herbie Goes Bananas, we got a reel from the Blues Brothers.
That's hilarious.
And it was the scene where they're sneaking into the venue for
with Minnie the Moocher. Yeah.
With Minnie the Moocher. And they're sneaking into the women's bathroom. And I'm like 9 years old. And I know even then I knew it was the Blues Brothers. Like, I'm not supposed to be seeing this. And it just burned in my brain still today at 9 years old. I could not tell you anything about Herbie Goes Bananas, but I can see in my head that scene from the Blues Brothers.
Okay. Guys, one of these times, we're just going to need to have a non-Disney Plus show of just like best
favorite movies.
Well, no.
Not Sleepless in Seattle.
Would you like me to do a one-woman show of Sleepless in Seattle? Because I absolutely can.
Because that's the only. Never mind. I'm going to shut my mouth on that one because I don't want to get hate mail. Okay. Kate, did you get it out of your eye? Did you manage to figure it out? Okay, just checking. So, Kate, what do we got this week for the Disney Plus news?
Sorry, I'm muted. Okay, Disney Plus news. First up, High School Musical, the series. Final season will arrive on Disney Plus on August 9th. The crew, getting ready to finally graduate, are putting on High School Musical 3 senior year. However, High School Musical 4, The Reunion, is announced to begin shooting at the high school, allowing Disney to bring back as many of the original characters as they can pay appearance fees for. This sounds like it is going to be terrible.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's good. If they have a trailer out, no. Just no.
I don't know. I like season 3 so much, though.
But I'm sorry, at what age are these kids not believable high schoolers anymore?
Oh, they already weren't in the camp one. No, they were believable in 1.
Season 3, was that at camp? Did they go
that was when they went to camp, yeah.
That's right. And Corbin Blue was in it?
Yeah.
Got it. All right. And last but certainly not least, Pixar said Pete Doctor is blaming the poor box office of Elemental on Disney Plus, saying it has trained audiences to wait for the projects to come to the service instead of watching them in theaters. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think he's wrong.
Maybe, but could it also be because it's a bad movie?
Yes.
It could be. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so.
And I don't think any of us are going to see it, but it's one I would have waited till it came out on video. I mean, this whole wait until you can see it not in the theater for cheaper is nothing new.
Right.
That started with blockbusters. That started when you could watch it at home for $2.99 for 3 days. If it was new, it was $2.99 for one night.
Yeah, but it used to be you couldn't do it in 6 weeks. I think that's like if you told me I got to wait 6 months to see it, I might be more likely to pay to see it.
This one I would not pay for.
Yeah.
Movie tickets, going to the movies, if you were to buy tickets and get a drink, a soda or something, and a popcorn, it is very expensive.
For two, it would be $50 to $60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been that way for a while.
I know, but that's
and it does. I mean, it's what's changed the movie. We're getting way off the rails, but
whatever.
You know, it's what's changed what people do is, do you pay $50 today or do you wait 6 weeks and watch it on your couch? And a lot more movies are getting the couch, but I don't disagree what he's saying that the last 3 Pixar movies went right to Disney Plus.
But
which doesn't help. Not the last 3, because Lightyear went to theaters. But I think that I agree. Also, this didn't particularly grab people. But I think also, if you're training people to be like, here's our service, we're going to have this movie on really quick, why bother going to theaters to see it?
That's fair. And I think Disney the way Disney can change that is if they start delaying their new releases to. Like if this all of a sudden this is their Thanksgiving Disney Plus release.
Yeah,
that's what would have worked. That's what
they should wait. All they got to do is wait 3 months. People are impatient.
See, but the summer release always came to video in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right. I agree. This should come out for like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the Thanksgiving release should come out in like Easter.
Yeah. Or like Memorial Day, or somewhere along those lines. Probably March-ish. The Christmas one usually came out in March-ish.
Or do what Avatar did, which is you release the movie, then you release an actual physical media, which they released in like March or April or something like that,
and sold. And people are still buying,
and it sold, and then they didn't release it to Disney Plus or to streaming because it's actually on multiple platforms, but they didn't release it till June. So right. you knew it wasn't coming right away, which is more motivation to go see it in the theaters.
Well, you'll notice they haven't released the new Guardians movie yet.
Right.
I think they're fine. I think they're finally going to go back to, if they hope to fix, if that's truly the issue and they hope to fix it, they're going to have to go back to the 6-month release window.
Yeah, I agree. If they want people going to mid-range movies in the theaters.
Was it Black Widow that you could get it early if you paid there was
Mulan.
Black Widow was one of them.
Mulan was another.
Mulan, Cruella, you could do that. And that has gone away, and I'm not sure why, because that would not cost Disney any extra money.
Yeah.
So anyway, next week, Steve and Gina in the background are going to be working on their tans and getting laid while they're in Hawaii.
Not together.
Not in Alaska.
Oh, in Alaska. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going to Hawaii later.
That will be together.
Yeah. You're going on an Alaska cruise. Kate, Pete, and
they're getting salmoned.
Yes.
Never mind. We could go completely off the PG rating anytime we really wanted to here. But
you started it.
I know I started it. I blame the whiskey. So next week it'll be Kate, Pete, and I. We're gonna have a short episode next week. We're gonna be just talking about the Secret Invasion premiere. the Samuel Jackson one. From what I have heard, make sure you have seen Captain Marvel on that one. And really, that's about if you've seen, from what I hear, if you've seen Captain Marvel and you know about the blip, that's what you need to know on that movie. So, guys, if you have suggestions, we've got some gaps coming up especially in July. We've got a couple openings. If you have suggestions, please email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. We have new episodes dropping every week, usually on YouTube and on all major podcasting services. For Kate, Pete, Steve, Gene in the background, and thank you all of our listeners, and we will see everyone next week. Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews, as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @plusplatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.